I'm your host, Sean MacKenzie. Thank you for joining me once again on my channel on data engineering. In this episode, we're putting strings together in SQL Server, and we're going to talk about how to use the concat function in order to put together strings so that we can assemble all kinds of sentences and combinations of fields and things like that. And it's extremely handy for your application. And you should really know how to concatenate strings in SQL Server if you're using that platform. And we're going to look at the alternate way of putting strings together just as a comparison. Let's get to it. Looking for more topics like this, make sure to check out my Patreon. The link is in the description. Okay, so I've got some simple examples here using SQL Server. And I've got a couple of little tables that I created, one called customers, which has a couple customers in it, and then I've got one with products, and then I have a couple other tables that I might use in other demonstrations, but for today we're going to look at these two tables and maybe the supplier table. And if I hit F5 there, you can see I've got a couple of fields in there, and just the same way I have some products down below. And what we're going to do is we're going to do some select statements that are going to use concatenation to put some of these fields together. And now this is going to be the same way that you'll use it in your queries, and we're also going to do one where there's a join between tables so that you can see that you can concatenate values from different tables together into one string. So what we want to do is basically we're going to use the concat function. So I did select customer ID and then comma, and then for the second field we're going to use a concatenation. And what you do is you can basically put in commas between all of the strings or items that you want to put together. And so it's very easy. You can just put your own string in there, and then names of fields. In this case we have name and email, and you can put in all kinds of different things in there, and you can put in pretty much as many as you want, and then just basically you can select one field, and then for the second field you can put a concatenation in there, and we're using the string name and then the name field and then email as if we're putting some kind of like header on something, I suppose. And then if we select all of that and we hit F5, you can see, there we go, we've got our name, Jim Smith, and then email, jim@jim.com. And say if I wanted to use another table, I could use the products table. Like if I run that one, select star from product, you can see we've got a Wilson volleyball, a standard volleyball, a nice bike, and a skateboard in there with some prices. And we can do the same. Now actually, usually when I create my statements, I like to put the from clause in there so that you do get the auto loading of fields and stuff in there in most cases. But we could do the same. We could say, hey, product name, and then we could put in a comma, something very simple, and then we could put in the STD price, the standard price, and as our product, we could call it, say. And then what that will do is that gives us a string that we can run, a select statement, and that's going to give us Wilson volleyball, comma $12, skateboard, comma 100, and so very straightforward. Now what we can also do is it's the same if you decide that you want to join in another table, or if you have 5 tables joined in, it doesn't really matter. As long as they're all in the same query, you can use concatenation between the fields. And so we could do join suppliers on suppliers.supplier ID equals product .supplier ID, and and that's gonna allow us to put that join in there, and I guess it's product. Here we go. So there we go. So now we've got a table joined in there, and that's really going to help us because we're going to use some fields from the supplier table in addition to those product fields that we have there up above. And so now we could go ahead and we could add some more fields or strings to our concatenation. We could say from, so we could say this product, the price, and then from, and then this supplier. And we could just say supplier name since it is unique between the two tables. We don't have to qualify it there. We can just put in supplier name, and if we run that one, that's going to give us Wilson Volleyball from Wilson Volleyball and Standard Volleyball from Wilson Volleyball Company. And so that allows you to put those strings together, and it's a nice easy way to do it, which is really awesome. There's our product name, and then we concatenated the comma, and then the price, and then that from string, and then the supplier name. And so you can see that's how our concatenation is working. And that's really what we want to see. And the concatenation function is, or concat function is really handy, and that is a preferred way of doing it in Azure SQL and SQL Server. There is an alternate way of doing it, which I can show you. Now, some other database systems allow you to use the plus sign or the double vertical bars. In some cases, I think Postgres uses that. And but in SQL Server and some others, you can actually just put in product name plus, and then the comma, and then plus, and then from plus, and then supplier name, and take it out of the brackets because you're just making sort of an expression there. But the problem is that when you use that style of concatenation, you need to make sure that your numbers are converted to strings. And so you can see here the standard price. I'm just going to cast that as a varchar so that it won't try to add it numerically, using arithmetic. It'll add it as a concatenation, which is what we want. And so now you can see that the same string works. So you can use either, or you can use the plus, or you can use concat. Both work really well. I think the preferred method is concat. That's why they provided the function, and that is really handy for you to use in your projects. And that is how you can concatenate strings in Azure SQL and SQL Server.